So the House, as I was driving in, the House passed this bill. It's now heading toward the president's desk. This is, I mean, they had this kind of thing where the Senate, the House passed it, and then they found a glitch, so it couldn't be passed through reconciliation. So the Senate passed it, and then the House had to pass it again, and now the House has passed it again, and they did it. It's unbelievable. I mean, it really is. I mean, they said, it's like after they told us Trump couldn't get elected, they told us, he was going to be a terrible president, he was going to just be a total lib. They told us all these things that just haven't happened, and that's what we're going to talk about. A lot of this today, just all the stuff that they've been saying. Chuck Schumer, in the Senate, he said, "You are going to rue the day." Here's Chuck Schumer. He's crying, Chuck. He's crying now, but he's got a lot to cry about. Here he is for real.
They will rue the day they did it. Given the bill's substance, it's no surprise they're in such a rush. 11th hour backroom deals have managed to only make their bill even worse. They don't want people. Folks, they don't want to discuss it. They don't want to have sunlight shed on it. They don't want anyone to know what's in it.
No one is listening to me. They won't listen to me. You know what is, I mean, this has been, since the Democrat Party and CNN and NBC and ABC and CBS are all basically one entity. Now the mainstream news media, we played this stuff yesterday. You could see it. The mainstream news media is simply an arm of the Democratic Party. They have put out this disinformation campaign so that most people think that their taxes are either going to go up or won't be affected. And so everybody hates this bill. So CNN first creates this situation and then they celebrate it. Here's their reporting on the bill.
I'm hysterical. I can't stop when I get like this. I can't stop. I'm hysterical.
I'm sorry. Here's the real CNN. I think this is just before the bill passed. They are warning it. They're gloating. They're gloating. This is going to be the worst thing that ever happened to Republicans.
This isn't what America had on its Christmas list after all. New this morning, signs that the Christmas present that the president promised the country, a tax bill, is not what the country actually wants. The House is expected to pass the bill this afternoon, but it is a bill that is getting less popular, it seems, by the day.
That's right. A brand new CNN poll this morning shows 55% of you out there oppose it. That is an increase of 10 points of negativity from just last month.
We are not done talking about this, not even close. Joining us now, CNN's politics reporter and editor-at-large, Chris Cillizza. Chris, 55% of Americans say they oppose this tax bill in our latest polling. That is greater opposition than it was just a month ago. And as Poppy was noting before, that opposition growing across all groups. What does that tell you?
Oh, it tells you you're making a gigantic gamble if you're the Republican Party.
When we begin with what President Trump calls a big, beautiful Christmas present for America, the tax cut bill that most Americans don't approve of.
So first they spread the disinformation, and then they're so thrilled that people are believing them. And this is the power of the media. There's no question about it, because people do not know what's in this bill because these guys have been purposely misleading them. But there is another power. It is called the power of reality. Remember, when Obamacare was passed, about 60% of the people opposed that. So many people opposed it, in fact, that Democrats lost. Remember, Scott Brown won in Massachusetts, which had never happened. I don't think a Democrat has won in Massachusetts basically since the Revolutionary War. So that was a big shock, and it just got worse and worse. Remember the disastrous unrolling of Obamacare. They were destroyed in the midterm elections. The Democrats were destroyed in the midterm elections. And right now it looks bad for the Republicans in the midterm elections. But as it became clear that Obamacare was an incredible boondoggle that Obama had lied about, it got worse and worse. But even so, Obama won re-election. And it was, and Ted Cruz, remember Ted Cruz? That was the other thing that happened where people were predicting, according to the polls at the time, Ted Cruz shut down the government. in 2013 because he didn't want to fund Obamacare. He was trying to stop Obamacare, and he shut down the government. The polls said, "Oh, this is a disaster," and they were telling, "Oh, the Republicans are going to be swept out of office," and that was a tsunami for the Republicans. So the thing is, reality is going to be very different for this tax bill, I believe, than for Obamacare. Obamacare forced people. This is the other thing. It takes away the Obamacare mandate. That's probably one of the big, I keep forgetting that. I keep forgetting to mention that. That is a huge deal. It gives Americans, it takes away the evil of taxing Americans for not doing something. That was a tax on Americans for not obeying what the government wanted you to do. I mean, it was so wrong. It was so wrong. The Supreme Court should have struck it down. They really should have. There was no way that was a constitutional provision. They kept saying it's a tax. It's not a tax. And, they just John Roberts gave them any interpretation they wanted. It was so wrong. This gets rid. I mean, this is a huge, as Joe Biden might have said, this is a big freaking deal. And so, and just to remember that when the Republicans then went to try and repeal Obamacare, there were a lot of people in their districts who didn't want them to do it because they'd gotten used to the free candy, or what they, those few people who were getting free candy out of it. And so, once the economy takes off, as I believe it will, it already has. I think they already have upgraded the last quarter to 4%. Once that happens, I think this is just going to change. I think this is an area is going to change. And here's what I want to know. Here is really the telling. I became a conservative almost entirely because everything Reagan said would happen happened, and everything the media said about Reagan turned out to be untrue. That is almost entirely why I changed parties. When the Berlin Wall fell down, there was simply no doubt in my mind that it was Ronald Reagan, the dumb actor who I just believed that. I believed he was a dumb actor, a warmonger. He was destroying the world. Same kind of panic was being sold both by the left and by the right. Even the people on the right were making fun of Reagan for his stupidity and his simplicity and his optimism and his sunny. All that stuff came under attack from the guys at National Review, and it came under attack by conservatives. Ronald Reagan said to his Secretary of State, he said, "We're going to win the Cold War." And he said, what does that even mean? And he said, it means we win and they lose. And when the wall came down, I thought, son of a gun, that stupid warmongering actor was exactly right. And the same kind of thing happened to the economy. We had been through the Jimmy Carter economy. We were waiting online for gas. You forget that. We were waiting online for gas. People were so depressed. Jimmy Carter was making speeches like, say something nice about America. That's how depressed people were. He talked about the national malaise because Democrats don't understand where this stuff is coming from. It just kind of droppeth like the gentle rain from heaven. They just think, oh, why is everybody so depressed just because I've sat on the economy? They keep telling you, it's the new normal. You always hear this from the Democrats. It's the new normal. It's 1%, 2% growth that we got under Obama. It's the new normal. It's not the new normal. It had to do with the fact that he chased all this money out of the country, that the regulations, businesses couldn't depend on the regulations. So when reality happens, people notice. People notice. They read the book of nature just like they read the news, And so I just believe that this is going to be an absolute bombshell of an economy. I think it's going to go off. It's already gone off like crazy. Just really on the strength of Trump's optimism, just on his promises to deregulate. And now the deregulation has come true. Now the corporate tax rate is coming down. So what I want to know is, are people paying enough attention? Did they hear Nancy Pelosi say what she said? And are they going to look out the window and say, the world is still here. And in fact, I'm making a fortune and my kid has a job and he's not living in my basement anymore. And suddenly, the world is a lot nicer than it used to be. And that's going to change everything. So let's take a look back. Part of this, let's just remember all the stuff that the news media got wrong, first of all, starting with the Martin Luther King bust that was removed from the Oval Office, but it wasn't removed from the Oval Office. And some guy, I think it was from Time Magazine, tweets out that, the evil racist Donald Trump has removed the Martin Luther King bust from the Oval Office, and then said, it was just an error. I didn't see it there, so I assumed it was gone. Well, none of this is just an error. It's what they call too anti-Trump. I think Byron York said there's a too anti-Trump to check. And sometimes there are stories in the news media, they say that story is too good to check. Well, if it's too anti-Trump, they don't check it. The AP and the New York Times said 17 intelligence agencies said that Russia interfered in our election. It was 4. They never mentioned the fact that they never looked at They never got to examine the intelligence agencies and law agencies, never got to examine Hillary Clinton's computer, that was done by their own people. The EPA Director Scott Pruitt, these are just off the top of my head. The EPA Director Scott Pruitt never met with the CEO of Dow Chemical, that they reported that, and then he decided not to ban or lift a ban on a pesticide. James Comey did tell Trump he wasn't under investigation 3 times. Anthony Scaramucci wasn't under investigation for dealings with a Russian bank. Michael Flynn was not going to testify that the candidate Donald Trump. It's mistake after mistake. But Grabian, which is a wonderful website, I'm glad to get the chance to mention them because one of the several websites I visit every morning to gather sound for the show is Grabian. They do a wonderful job of compiling stuff. They compiled a look back of 10 moments in the news media, not of mistakes, because mistakes, they can always make an excuse for the mistakes, even though the mistakes are always on one side. But they compiled just an embarrassing collection of attitude, ways that they're manipulating you, ways that they're manipulating the public, so that to create this atmosphere of hysteria when, as I said yesterday, nothing is happening except Republican governance. Trump is not doing anything radical. He's not. He is doing what Republicans are supposed to have stood for all this time.